Alright, hello everybody. This is Naven. How are you all doing today, tonight, or whenever you're going to be seeing this? Because, you know, I think how I'm going to do this from now on when it comes to reaction content is that I'm just going to be reacting to it from now on, separately from my live streams. That way I could just live stream myself playing games. Maybe, I don't know. I'll leave it up to you guys what I do on that, but it might be simpler if I just pre-record my reaction content rather than actually live stream it. At least it offers me a bit more wiggle room to be able to create videos when I'm too busy to do live streams, you know? But, I'll leave that up to you guys. But otherwise, today, we're going to be reacting to something that I've been kind of curious about for a good while, right? So, I have known Nuxtaku, not personally, mind you, but I've known his content. I know what kind of YouTuber he was before he became the content creator that he is now. I know that he's a bit of a controversial figure as of late. I'm slowly becoming that myself because of so many reasons. God, don't even get me started. But anyways, I'm slowly edging towards that direction myself these days because I'm just sick of this shit, honestly. And I don't even think of myself as being particularly controversial. I'm just sick of seeing shit. Like, I miss the days when everything was just simple and I could just play a game and have fun and do all this other shit and then not have to think about stupid shit. Like, when my favorite franchises or things that I get into suddenly get hijacked by idiots or fucking, misappropriated by people who honestly should not have any business being in charge of making shit for the people, of the content for the people who actually enjoy the content, among other things, but that's neither here or there. Point is, like, before anything that Nux is now, I knew him as basically being the anime guy, before, well, I mean, he was literally an anime guy before the literal anime man, was ever really. I mean, I wouldn't say he was doing this before Joey, but I think he definitely is the anime guy. He is quite literally a anime man. He is literally an anime character, is what I'm trying to say. And he used to just make a bunch of anime content about, like, a bunch of stupid shit, like, who would beat who in a fight, or, like, the top 10 something or whatever, like, people have documented this before. I'm sure this guy is going to document it, because I've seen a few people look at this and kind of react to it a little bit, and I was kind of curious myself. Royalty is here as a content creator that I'm somewhat aware of. I've seen a couple of his videos on my own time. Nothing too substantial, but I am interested to see his interpretation, his ideas, his catalog of the Nuxtaku situation, the most hated VTuber in all of VTubers, I guess. At least when it comes to male VTubers, or just VTubers in general. I mean, I don't know. Do you really consider him to be a VTuber? I mean, most people don't really care much for male VTubers to begin with, and Nuxtaku is kind of a unique one because he made his content doing other things and wasn't really recognized for being a VTuber. But anyways, nonetheless, I'm kind of ranting a little, getting a little pedantic here. Point being, I don't know what I'm going into when it comes to this. It's probably going to be, I mean, I have an idea because I'm aware of the controversies he's been in over the years, but I stopped watching his content, like, around, God, after the VTuber shit. Like, it was just sad. I mean, honestly, but, we'll get into that, I guess, with this video. So, yeah, nothing, if nothing else, it is the most hated VTuber by Royalty is here. Be sure to like and subscribe. Maybe leave a comment in the bottom here. Go and support your boy. Royalty is here. I do not mind. Or go watch the original video. I also don't mind that either. It's all about advertising the real content creators here. I'm just reacting to the thing, but otherwise, let's get right into it.
So I've become somewhat of a scholar in VTubers as of recently. Don't worry, it was completely involuntary. I wouldn't condone the knowledge I've absorbed being put on anyone else. But since their first conception in 2016
That seems
and later
loud.
popularity in 2019 to 2020, which has carried it all the way to the present day, where like endless mitosis, they've reproduced to the point where they are everywhere. There's a VTuber for every animal almost. I'm still waiting on a water bear VTuber though, or one that is inspired by a slot machine that has a gambling addiction. I feel like
I don't know how I feel about that, actually. Why does it need to have a gambling addiction in particular? Do you have a problem, my guy? Do you have maybe a mobile game problem? I mean, you would not be the first person to fall into that rabbit hole. I mean, I have a friend of mine who still plays Nikkei, and he doesn't even play it for the fan service anymore. He plays it for the story, and oh my god, the story is depressing. Anyways, moving on.
I'd resonate with them very well. But due to its popularity, there are a range of VTubing personalities. Some more reserved and safe for work, some at the other side of the spectrum.
How is Saba Yamaneko? Out of curiosity. Is she a little different now that she's debuted? So I'm kind of curious because of, what's the difference between Saba now versus what she might have, versus what she was before? I mean, do I really need to play with semantics on this? But I am kind of curious about it. I haven't really watched anything. I don't usually watch Hololive. Sad as it is, back when, VTubing was just on the rise, I was more of a Niji Sanji fan, and I'm kind of hating that fact now. But I mean, I liked watching Niji Sanji VTubers before the Niji Sanji fallout, and it was, God, the fallout on that shit, and then the new stuff that's coming out, they cannot catch a break. It's awful. It really is something. It's like the company knows how to hire the most mentally ill people for the job. And, back in the day, right, before the controversies, people thought Phase Connect, and even I thought Phase Connect was probably the kookier that VTuber companies were going to get. No. Definitely Niji Sanji is the worst of them. Fucking, oh my god. That company, I kind of felt bad for Twisty until I learned more about Twisty, which is kind of what introduced me to Royalty is here a little bit. It's like his was it Royalty? Who covered it? No, that was Parrot 4chan, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Parrot 4chan. That guy, I did not know Twisty had an interesting history like that, so when she kind of came out with that thing, I was kind of like, okay, well, I mean, like, women tend to need to vent. I'm not going to take every erroneous thing she says that seriously, because people just tend to vent, and women are the biggest proponents of this issue. No, it's actually worse than that, because she has a history of being kind of a shithead, which is interesting. I mean, I think maybe she just borders too hard on making edgier humor, on edgier jokes, but I don't know. I can't read people's minds. I don't know this person, so I can only make conclusions based off of other people's coverage and what other people say about the person, so, that's all neither here or there. I would like to reserve all of my criticisms for every individual for when if I were to inevitably talk to the person or meet the person and get to know them a little bit, maybe then. But otherwise, I don't like to just start throwing shade or labels at people. As someone with a bit of a persecution complex myself, it's just not something that I particularly like to do. But yeah, without harping on this too much, it's an interesting thing. VTubers are a very interesting breed of content creator because they can come from all walks of life, quite literally, and you'll never know what you're gonna get until it fucking, until shit hits the fan. I mean, I don't know I don't know what to expect from anybody. Like, if I were to collab with a VTuber, right? I've been watching a lot of other VTubers, but mostly indie VTubers these days, and like, I would not mind collabing with some of them, but I'm just not sure what I'm going to be walking into. And some of them seem pretty cool. I mean, like, I recently just started watching someone named, I think, what was it, Daisy Mecha? Daisy Mocha? I don't remember. She apparently had a recent falling out on Twitter because of some stuff that she said. I'm not too sure what the full context of that actually was. I think she has a video covering it for herself, which is interesting. I haven't watched it. I'm not sure what the full context is. I think it seems like another case of possible just misinterpretations and slander, maybe. I don't know. I'll have to get into it, but otherwise, yeah, let's just get back into it before I ramble on too much.
And then some you'd think were on a different type of spectrum with whatever this is.
I'm hungry!
Fucking chibi. Doki. This is my comfort streamer. This right here, this little fucking troglodyte is my comfort streamer. I watch her when I need a pick-me-up. She is just so funny. And the dumbest shit she talks about, it's like, why am I pissed off again? Oh yeah, that's right. I'm not pissed off anymore. Thank God.
Treat! I'll do a backflip for a treat! I'll do a backflip for a treat!
They make content, they stream, some have their own lore better than any of the latest Marvel movies. They have their own meet and greets at events. They even have their own concerts which sell a lot of tickets. The internet is infatuated with VTubers, and VTubing is accessible to anyone. If you can fork out the money for a VTubing model with multiple toggles and features, like a tit slider and jiggle physics, which is essentially like jingling keys for the absolute gooners of the VTuber audience. However,
I mean, he's not wrong about that. I mean, I commissioned my model specifically. I had the money for it, because I live with my parents, and I also had a full-time job when I did it, so I had the ability to do it. Otherwise I would have had to find I originally tried to find a way to make there were apps that you could go to for, like, what was it? OF face, OC face? I don't remember. There was like models you could have got, like 3D models from like a particular app you could have gotten, and then you could have done the whole thing through that. They updated it several times though, so it gets more complicated to actually do that. I know Kip started off with that kind of a model, and I tried to figure that shit out. I could not. It was a pain in the fucking ass, let me tell you, but it was, I just said, fuck it. I'll just fork over the cash and just have somebody else do it for me. And yeah, if you want to know where to get your own model, I recommend Kita Kazawa. She is right there in the description below. Please go take a look at her. Go check her out. She's available on Etsy. She's also you could also get it. Contact her on Instagram, X, wherever you feel like is you want to go and chat her up, whatever. If you need a VTuber model, I would go to her. She gave me this model, so as kind of a shitter as I am at using it, I imagine like, she's done me a service, and I would like to do her a service. VTuber moms are something that you should support. And she is mine. So yeah, go check her out. She's you can even look her up on Etsy. That's where I found her. That's how I commissioned the model, is that I went on Etsy, found her, and I just commissioned her to do it. And she was very polite. She was very respectable. Like, she may not get back to you immediately, because time zones. But she will definitely get you a model, and you could just brainstorm with her about what you want, and she accommodates pretty easily. But otherwise, yeah. Moving on. Enough shilling from that on that aspect.
The VTubing has become slightly oversaturated over the years, and it is hard to differentiate yourself from the sheer amount of VTubers that there is. But apart from that, VTubing comes with a lot of benefits over their fleshy counterparts, like being able to say the most abhorrent and viscous statements with complete anonymity.
Where's your fucking art degree, buddy? Where's your fucking art degree? Oh, you have one? Okay, Hitler.
Probably due to the sheer popularity and benefits of being a VTuber, you can now find many other content creators.
Ugh. I remember when this Ludwig thing happened. Nobody liked it. Well, at least nobody in my circles liked it. And I'm not sure how to feel about it either. I mean, I didn't care because I knew it was just going to be a one-time gag type of thing. But I did... Dress aside, why did... He had a diaper and I think a pacifier? It was weird. It was weird. I again, it was I think it was just a one-time thing. It was just weird though. I couldn't. Ugh. And then that's not even mentioning all the Ludwig shit that happened recently. That fucking piece of shit. You know, like LA. Just a. I don't want to make it sound like everyone from California is a piece of shit, but I would never trust anyone from California. Just for the record, that, you know, like especially if they're trying to sell you shit. Never let a Californian sell you shit. It's gonna fucking bite you in the ass. I'm just saying. Alright, you'll be doing yourself a service if you just keep most Californians at arm's length with a wide berth. Moving on.
Is adopting their own VTuber personality. But with the vast amount of people partaking in such format, with a variety of personalities and opinions, it's only natural that some VTubers would be favoured over others, and some just outright hated. This brings me to the topic of today.
You think Gunpie's new return is warranted? I mean, just out of curiosity. I don't want to drag this on because I've already paused several times and it's only been 2 fucking minutes, but I'm just kind of curious. Because, you know, like, I'm all about second chances, but, you know, it's more so about action than it is about the apology, so we'll just see how that goes.
Today's video. One of the most hated VTubers that recently can't seem to
I'm gonna let it go.
Break. Someone that had the complete opposite reputation only a few years ago, and someone I've spoken about before but never really in depth, Nux Taku. Yes, seen as Gunpie has recently removed herself from the internet due to people finding out that she wasn't in fact single and dating all her audience, which was a new level of parasocial degeneracy. She even invited them to send dick pics as part of the girlfriend experience, but she's gone now, and probably has a solid terabyte of uncut penis on her hard drive, and that one other VTuber really doesn't count in this category, because most people still don't know they exist, which is partially a good thing. So the title now falls on Nux, as in recent years he's been regarded to be one of the most hated VTubers, and still to this day gets shit like a public outhouse more than any other VTuber. But who is Nux Taku, how did he become so hated, and does he deserve it?
I'm just incredibly famous on the internet, so people decide to try to cancel me on Twitter for some reason because they're jealous of my incredible success.
So for one of the most hated VTubers, you'd have probably expected this man to have spawned straight from the spread cheeks of Nurgle, with malice and hate as his prerogative. Which isn't that far from the truth. Nux originally started posting on the internet in 2015 with anime-based videos which I cannot relate to in any way. Anybody that has ever made such content should be lined up and shot with hollow point 7.62 rounds, but I digress. Nux had made his start on the internet making primarily anime-targeted content, which people actually loved. A major critique against Nux from previous fans seems to be that they enjoyed it when he just made anime-themed content rather than the content he would later shift to.
That actually brings up an interesting point, though, because a lot of people seem to struggle with this. You know, even back when it was just Markiplier, Pewds, and Jacksepticeye, right? You know, like, they would often talk about how, like, oh, well, you know, people love me for my old content, but I don't do that content anymore, and I can only, you know, that was a part of my time, of my life, that I kind of just want to move on from. But people still often talk about, like, oh, I liked you better when you were this way, or when you did this type of content, and it's like, you know, I've touched on this a little bit on the channel before, but it might have been, like, a long time ago when I was a disembodied voice, but, you know, like, I get that, you know, like, most people, when they say shit like this, I don't think they really mean any offense by it. You know, like, I fell off from a lot of content creators, even back in that time, because I just didn't like the content they were doing, and, you know, that's fine, you know, that's entirely fine. You're free to move on, you're free to watch other people, and they're free to do whatever the hell they want, you know, like, it's just the way things are. You know, like, as far as like like I kind of get it, like as a content creator myself, right? As someone who reacts to things, who plays games on the channel, like I kind of get it. Like if someone were to tell me like I missed you better when you did this type of content, like especially if I get more controversial, like I'm probably, like eventually I might get people who are just like I missed you better when you were just, when you just play games and you just talked about, you just talked about stuff. You just talked about the game, or you just enjoyed playing games or some shit like that. You're like a comfy streamer. And then, and if I see comments like that, I'll be like, I get that. Like, it's kind of why my idea and solution to it is that I try to bring a balance, right? I bring a healthy balance, right? I'm only here for one thing, which is to play games, shoot the shit, and just essentially have fun. And if I'm not having one of those three, then I'm trying to maximize the other two, right? That's how I try to do it. That's how I try to look at it, right? I try to balance the thing. And, it's not easy, and I imagine that I will evolve the content at some point, especially if I eventually figure out the editing process and really sit down and actually look at that shit. But, until then, right, this is just kind of how my content is. This is just how my content's gonna go. I don't necessarily see myself as like getting anywhere nearly so big that people would be like longtime fans or even ask me shit like this or anything of that level. I think it's just an interesting thing to see. And as far as like other content creators, they seem to move on. They seem to have drastically moved on. Pewds is no longer playing games. He's kind of doing a lot of real life shit, which is kind of wholesome. Markiplier, I'm not sure what Markiplier is doing anymore. PewDiePie. Oh wait, I already talked about Pewds. Jacksepticeye. I'm not sure what Sean's doing actually. I don't know anymore. Point being, like content creation is an interesting journey. You can see your favorite creators come and go, rise and fall, and evolve over time. It's such an interesting thing, and YouTube has YouTube and content creation has this interesting sort of like almost like a tracking. It's like your digital footprints. You're tracking of the history on your path to being a content creator, and it's it's got to be so wild to kind of go back and kind of see where you've went, how far you've gone, what you've done up to that point. It's got to be something. Like I can't imagine being in Pew's position or even Markiplier's or Sean's, let alone myself. Like it's gonna, it's got to be an interesting ride. It's got to be an interesting journey. And people just knew Markiplier as being the FNAF guy and the scary games guy. But anyways, yeah. All that said and done, I'm neither here or there. Let's just move on with it. As far as Nux is concerned, I, for one, have fallen off from him around the time with the controversy, but I did like his earlier content myself, so I'm a bit of a stickler on that one as well. The stuff that he's doing now, I'm not too sure, because I haven't watched him recently. I'm not sure what his coverage is like on certain things. I was watching someone apparently react to his content earlier, which was Daisy. I think she was like reacting to him watching a debate between like fucking 4 people. It was something to witness, let me tell you. But anyways, he seems to be doing all right, and his coverage seems to be interesting. I'm probably gonna have to look into it later. But anyways, we're just gonna move on.
But we'll talk about that later. But in the current time frame, the gravy train was not ending for Nux. He collaborated with many content creators doing the same niche he was, that at the time held a lot of influence on the platform, and he even eventually reached over 1 million subscribers by 2019, just by once again doing anime content.
God, 2019 feels like such a fucking long time ago.
Somehow got cancelled for the first time in the year of 2020, which was one of the first of many to come. And honestly, to Nux's credit, he has withstood a lot of them. You cannot take it away from him. Dude has tanked controversies even though sometimes it's down to his own actions. But his first cancellation, in his own words, was due to comments he made towards animes and anime characters. Yeah, we must have been very bored in 2020. And one of the comments that put him under scrutiny was when he referred to male anime characters that presented themselves as feminine under the title of traps.
I mean, is it is it a lie? I'm probably going to be saying something controversial here, but like it, if you're thinking that this person's one way, and then you find out they probably not only do they probably swing a different way, but they also are packing heat under there. You're not exactly expecting that. So, yeah, Admiral Akbar intended. It is certainly a trap. I don't know how else to say that. It's deceptively feminine. It looks feminine. You think it's feminine, and then you realize it isn't. I don't know how else to say that. I don't know what to say about that to make it sound less controversial. I don't even know why this is controversial. I can't believe this is actually a controversy. This is like such a non-controversy. This is like such a non-issue. I do know that a lot of people stopped using the term after a while because it was kind of becoming like an uncomfortable term for some people because, trans people. But it's like, I don't think even trans people give a shit, man. Like, I knew one trans person my entire life, and for the longest time, I didn't even know they were fucking trans. It's like, I don't think they care, bro. I really don't. Unless they're just overly sensitive. And in which case, if you're overly sensitive, you're not going to survive very long on the fucking internet either. Especially not in the digital age. God help you in this age. But moving on.
Which I discovered recently has become a slur. Thank you for the 2020 slur patch notes 5 years later. And to be honest, I haven't heard anyone use the word trap in a while. The second thing he was accused of was being racist, because he pronounced Full Metal Alchemist like this. And the third thing...
But that's just fucking funny! I mean, that was funny. I mean, like, God, the internet back then was so different. People made jokes like this and some others all the time. It wasn't that big of a deal. God, people today just don't have the fucking spine anymore. It's just awful. I can't stand it. I hate how smothered this time is. It's like you can't say anything without it coming off as a perceived slight anymore. It's always some fucking bullshit or another. It's so annoying. It's a joke. Get the fuck over it.
Was that he was sexist for talking about anime female characters in a negative way. But sorry to say, Sakura is a fucking useless character. I had to say it.
Bro, same. She is a useless character. I think that's how, you know what, I'm not going to get into it, because then that'll just extend the period of this video for far longer. It's only been 5 minutes since the fucking video is already going on 28 minutes. Might as well just keep going.
Would have been more useful as a shuriken shield than anything else in the story. But out of all the controversies that Nux would later
I gotta stop
have,
tangenting.
this one was by far the least impactful on his online reputation. But Nux's response to these allegations and critiques gives you a good example on Nux's online persona, which has persisted even to this present day. He kind of just told them to go fuck themselves, and he clammed on the people hating on him, and clarified he wasn't in the wrong because the majority of the time he was just talking about anime characters.
I don't think I did anything that warrants an apology, and therefore I, Lord D. Nuxanor, will not be apologizing.
This is the persona a lot of people revered him for. He was someone...
Well, yeah, he was very bombastic, he was loud, and kind of reminds you of an obnoxious little brother, but he was, yeah, he was just a very cool person. He was also very opinionated. He also had a lot of interesting opinions, especially when it came to pop culture stuff. That's the main reason why people liked him. It's one of the reasons why I liked his stuff. And when it came to dealing with people online who hated him for bullshit reasons, it's like, I think he handled most of it pretty well. You know, like, I've never seen a content creator be as bombastic as he was, and it's looking like he's kind of evolved that too, but that's neither here or there. Let's just move on.
Someone that had relatively no filter and was certainly unapologetic for it. He was loud, energetic, satirical, and in his own words, he just loved the chaos and just flexing on the haters. That is also a term I haven't heard for a while. People loved this about him. It was somewhat of a breath of fresh air for that time. which to many's horror, someone with the same characteristics and significantly less apologetic was about to become popular around the same time.
Oh dear
All of
God.
what I've just mentioned was before he even became a VTuber. He actually only debuted as a VTuber in 2021, which mentioned before was around the boom of VTubing. Before his debut, he was like a 2D VTuber of sorts, using his character
PNG
that looks
tuber.
like a black tar heroin version of Sans from Undertale. But he was never considered a VTuber till that day of early 2021. And compared to other VTubing models, it did get its fair share of criticism. It didn't track very well. Sometimes his lips didn't collaborate very well with what he was saying. People once again thought he was just a Sans Undertale clone. And where were the big...
I mean, I think he actually admitted once that that was basically the inspiration for his PNG and his VTuber model. His entire internet persona was literally based off of Sans Undertale. I think he literally said that at one point. So, I mean, if people drew the parallels, you know, it's not inaccurate. At least as far as I know. I could be wrong, you know.
boobas and tit sliders. Disgraceful. But many of his fans actually loved it. It collaborated very well with his online personality and content, but after this he did start to stray away from his anime-themed content, with VTuber-related videos and general trends at the time. Like, I gave X amount to a starving Serbian child, and he even threw a few songs in there as well. But with his new type of content, he started to receive a lot more attention. Even with the disagreement from his older fans, he managed to reach 2 million subscribers, and even collaborated with the top echelons of YouTube, like Some Ordinary Gamers, Moist Critical, Umperville, and Lost Pause, who I feel like I haven't seen in a while. And
You know, I feel the same way. I don't think I've seen a Lost Pause video in forever. What is Lost Pause doing? God, there are so many content creators in this space that I just don't watch anymore. It's crazy. But, you know, that's just how it is. You know, like, so you stick around or you just fall off. It's, you know, like, you're stuck with whatever you can get. And, you know, that's just the way of content creation, you know? I mean, I'm sure his Lost Pause I'm pretty sure he still has a lot of fans, actually. I wonder how many people, I wonder what he does now, because it looks like he just reacts to memes on YouTube these days. Like, what else does he do? Does he do anything else? Does he talk about anime still? I don't know. I feel like he does. I know he had a girlfriend the last time I saw him. I don't think I've ever seen him with his girlfriend anymore. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
And obviously other VTubers like Bao and Iron Mouse. He even started a podcast in 2021 with Umperbill and Mutaha, just talking about things that happened on the internet. And even though his older fans criticised him, his content had changed drastically, and he wasn't everybody's cup of tea. All of this was out.
I mean, nobody's everybody's cup of tea. That tracks, you know. I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea either. In fact, I'm probably the most insufferable person on the internet. I don't know. I could be. I could easily be that. From how pedantic I get, I could easily be that.
Weighed by the support and positivity for him. However, due to a number of controversies regarding his own actions, the tide of positivity quickly turned against him. And in the current day, he doesn't collaborate with many YouTubers like he used to. His content has mainly evolved into just slop reaction content. Oops, sorry, wrong channel. And on his second channel, he's dived into politics, which has also landed him in hot water, and many of the people that were once close to him have seemingly distanced themselves from him. Many address him now with either infamousy or just outright hate, which is very polarizing when compared to his previous years on the platform. But what are these controversies, and does he deserve a reputation that is essentially on the same level as a urinal cake marinated in piss?
And the point that I'm trying to make here is, for some reason, I became the goddamn enemy numero uno.
Now, probably one of the...
I mean... Oh, he's about to get into the VShojo thing. I mean, one of the things... I mean, I was not aware of clicks prior to... God, well... Like, even with the falling out with VShojo and everything, right? Like, I was still not aware of, like, any clicks. Even among indie VTubers, apparently there was clicks forming. You know, like, there's a lot of content creator clicks I never knew existed because I don't pay attention to social media. I don't pay attention to any of the weird coverage that goes on around these spaces because I just don't care, and I kind of still don't. But it was such an interesting thing to witness. Like, I only became aware of the fact that industry started developing cliques around the whole Vic Mignogna controversy. And that was a really big one. That was a really big one. I sometimes still talk about it. I like to think about it often because, you know, like, I know people who have been affected by it. At least I've met people who were affected by the person they claim to be anyways. And then I knew people who, you know, had nothing but great things to say about them. And, you know, like, there's a lot of people who believed the guy. And, you know, like, it was seeming like it was just going to be another case of, like, the people are blowing this thing out of proportion. They were just trying to literally get rid of some poor innocent guy. They were literally trying to murder him off the face of the internet reputationally. And also just in real life, you know, like, it seemed like it was just another case of Me Too gone wrong, right? And to this day, I still don't know what the truth is. Does anyone actually know what the truth is? Because I still go back to it sometimes, and I'm like, do we have a general consensus? Because I don't think there ever was. You know, like, it's so crazy. I know that the whole lawsuit is done and over with, and it did not roll in his favor, but it's so crazy. It's just so crazy. You know, like, that whole thing came and went, and I'm still not sure what is and isn't the truth. I love that particular case. I like to think about it because it's just such an interesting enigma. It's like, is he a piece of shit? Or is he not a piece of shit? Is everybody else just a piece of shit? The real answer is that everyone's a piece of shit. I'm kind of getting the sense, right, that everyone, especially the old guard voice actors, are all just disgusting garbage, but, you know, it's one of the reasons why I don't watch dub anymore, but, you know, that's neither here or there. You know, point being, I feel like that, yeah, after that point onwards, I became more cognizant of cliques, and I wasn't aware of the indie VTuber clique until the Cinder thing, and I'm like, how the hell did this happen? And also, there were cliques among the indie VTubers? I mean, like, oh, I'm not surprised, but, you know, like, I kind of got the sense of that from how many people would collaborate with certain other people over some others, you know? But I never tried to, you know, I never really paid that much attention to it. I never gave it that much thought. I just thought, oh, they're just like to collaborate with some people better or more often than some others, probably because they just like to collaborate with each other. I don't fucking know. That's how I just assumed. That's just what I assumed. You know, my ignorant brain at the time, you know, like, who just doesn't want to pay attention to shit because I'm just trying to enjoy myself, especially nowadays. Except I can't enjoy myself anymore. So now I'm kind of just, I guess, malding. I guess that's just my life now. But anyways, yeah, it was certainly something. And now I'm aware that there are cliques. There are cliques everywhere, and I fucking hate it. We have not graduated mentally from high school, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations.
The first major and most confusing controversies Nux faced was in 2021 with VShoujo. Conveniently not long after he debuted, VShoujo is a VTubing agency with many of the juggernauts of the VTubing scene under their belt, like Iron Mouse, Project Melody, Zentreya, Fruit, and many more being added to this day. However,
I'm just going to let this go until he's done.
Nux and the talent of VShoujo were on good terms. They created content together, interacted in the cesspool that is Twitter, and just all around seemed to have a good relationship. However, in 2021, somebody was targeting VShoujo, and were pretending to be VShoujo in order to gather VTubers' personal information to harass, dox, and even swat them. Some of the emails appeared like they were coming from VShoujo recruitment, and one specifically was sent to an indie VTuber, where they essentially thought their dreams were coming true, and they were asked to join VShoujo, but first they would have to put all their information in which the police then showed up to their house because they had just been swatted. Nux had received the same email, but he knew it wasn't VShoujo. He got in contact with the VShoujo management team and cybersecurity team to tell them what was happening and that potentially more VTubers are going to fall victim to this, but VShoujo was already aware this was happening and were doing their own investigation. Nux began his own investigation by providing the wrong information to the email so they would contact him, and at one point they even flexed they had his information in a Discord server for some reason. which was provided to Nux by one of his apparent fans.
There's sources of info that I got, which are kind of hilarious. This dude was flexing that he got my real name and phone number, which he didn't, and he was posting it in his Discord servers, and one of the people in the Discord server that he was posting it was a fan of mine.
Nux was working on a full video covering this topic and spreading awareness about it. The VShojo's cybersecurity team and management knew about this video being made and were communicating directly with Nux about the video through things like Discord, and he even showed them the video before it was released. This also involved one of the VShojo talents that was never named.
Someone is out there impersonating VShojo,
I mean, most people just assume it was Project Melody. Anyways, moving on.
the massive VTuber group. They tried to steal my info, dox me, and swat me, and they've successfully done this to many, many other VTubers. This is not
Now, to Nux's credit, the video promptly spread awareness about the situation, potentially saving more indie VTubers that would want to join VShojo, and just spreading awareness about general cybersecurity etiquette. Yes, if you received an email from Jackman saying you're the top 1% of jackers, and they want to deliver your own personal golden encrusted flashlight, they just need you to fill out all your personal information. They were probably lying
Sounds
to you.
fucking
But you think
disgusting.
people would rejoice at such a positive thing Nux had done. Yes, people did initially praise him for this video, and VShojo also thanked him, and one of the perpetrators allegedly had their information turned over to the police, but the positive acclamations for Nux quickly turned when many of the VShojo VTubers publicly criticised Nux for making a video on the topic with allegations levied against him of being a clout chaser and potentially putting them in danger. With the fact that many of the VShojo team had apparently told him not to make the video, but he did so anyway, and many of them just wanted the video removed, in which it was 3 days later. Now, it's important to note that within the video, none of the VShojo members were mentioned directly. The only other VTuber mentioned in the video was Saki, who was the victim that got swatted, and in fact responded positively to the video being made. So the only way this would put VShojo talent in danger would be inspiring other people to do the same. But VShojo knew about it. Even one of the members was in the Discord with the cybersecurity team and Nux. And once again, they thanked him and even provided an official statement at the end of the video. But it appears the VShojo talent were not informed about this at all, hence why a lot of them were denouncing Nux's video. And to make things worse, VShojo management deleted their thank you to Nux, and then went with a narrative that they always told him never to make the video. And everyone proceeded to pile on Nux. Now, if you've been stunlocked, it's no surprise all of this is very confusing, but to break this down for you like SpaghettiOs, this is basically a tale of poor communication, where the VShojo members were not told beforehand about this, except for the one VShojo member that was in the group apparently. The VShojo team thought they communicated directly to Nux that they didn't want this video to be made, with only 2 instances, one before he even started the video, and 2 when they were actively helping him with the video, where they didn't tell him directly to not make the video, and even thanked him for it. But when the VShojo talent had problems with it, they then withdrew their thanks, and once again reinstated their stance they never wanted him to make this video, despite once again being informed and having some part in it. They also expressed concerns about the one person he called a fan, who was the one that told him they were leaking the fake information, that they were a part of the attack and could be feeding him misinformation. That is the bare bones of what happened, and Nux was facing a mountain of backlash for it, even though his heart was in the right place and he did inform the group. I just wanted to bring light to this situation to prevent any further victims. He kind of just got thrown under the bus due to an apparent miscommunication with him and the cybersecurity and management team of VShojo. But when the dust settled, Nux just wanted to move on, and all parties apologised, including the VShojo VTubers. But for his first major controversy, he received a lot of backlash for this, even though, once again, his heart was in the right place. And the real problem was the people doxing and swatting people. But the next one is something I've spoken about before, so I'll give you the cliff notes. But it's one that Nux regards as his biggest mistake, and one that took around 2 years to somewhat conclude.
So before we move on to the next one, let me give my 2 cents on this, right? So, the VShojo thing, right? For me, I feel like personally, alright, and I could be capping. I could absolutely be capping. I'm kind of spitballing here. I'm going based off of what I feel like, from what I've experienced and things that I know, right? But I have the sneaking suspicion that this whole situation only got as bad as it did because Nux Taku just really did not sit well with the talents. It's one thing that he made a video, posted it, and all of the people behind the scenes working in VShojo were aware of this. And one of the talents, I'm pretty sure what really actually happened, and I could just be fucking capping. I could absolutely be cooked when I say this, but from the things that I've seen and from the things that I know, especially with controversies of this nature, especially as far back as this time, especially around this time, I feel like they intentionally drew up drama because they just fucking hated the guy. They just didn't like him. They probably perceived this video as being a problem because they really just did not like the guy, and so they just wanted an excuse to cancel him. And also, yeah, probably because they also were uncomfortable by the fact that he was bringing attention to something that could potentially, stir up its own bit of drama. But, I feel like that even with the context of them not knowing the fact that the VShojo management people knew what was going on, and the cybersecurity team knew what was going on behind the scenes and whatnot, even with this context, I feel like that this whole nothing burger likely would not have happened if they didn't already have a predisposed hatred for the guy. Like, if they were all really cool, as they were when they collaborated among other things, then I don't think they would have jumped the gun nearly this hard as they did. It's only when he pissed them off to some degree, I'm sure. Just something about the guy really did not rub them the wrong way. And so they just did not like the guy. And they actively hated him on some level, which is why they did this. That is my potential, right, little theory on that whole subject. I have never seen a controversy where something happens and it's not done purely with some level of motivation, right? I feel like you, especially when it comes to condemning somebody, you would not go nearly so far as to condemn someone publicly unless you already didn't like the son of a bitch. And I feel like that VShojo, just the girls, the talents there, already didn't like the guy to begin with. And so they had no qualms about dragging his name through the mud and wanting to get him canceled off the internet. They probably saw him as just being a very annoying, controversial person on some level. Or maybe he's a very opinionated guy. He has probably talking to them both on, during and off the, collabs, among other things. I'm sure they find the guy's personality to be grating. I definitely believe that if nothing else, this was all a motivated attempt to basically get a person canceled. That's all I want to say on that subject. I don't know how else to say this without it's, going into fucking conspiracy theory territory, because I'm just giving my impressions, my sense of it. And as far as this whole controversy itself, it's stupid. It's all very stupid. Like, if I had to look at this whole thing from top to bottom, if we were to go through all the details, right? And I don't want to go through that because I already went on a whole pedantic sort of rant about my theory about why they were very quick to, completely wanted to deplatform the guy. I feel like that this whole thing could have been, if they informed the talents, that would have been one thing. But it's like, when you really think about it logistically, why would you need to be informed, and why would you even care? I know that VShojo was started by talents for the talents, but this is the cybersecurity team. They don't have to tell you, I imagine, what sort of shit that they're doing on a daily basis unless they bother to want to inform you about it, right? I don't think you need to know about all of the crazy shit that goes on, that, you know, the goings on behind the scenes, unless you ask about it. And even then, you know, like, this is something that they were secretly working in the background. Why the fuck would they want to tell you this? You are literally internet personalities. You could literally just talk about this randomly with no context, you know, basically kind of just ruining the whole thing for whatever fucking reason, right? And they could probably tell you, make sure they keep it hush-hush. You could accidentally allude to it even then. Either way, right? You know, like, you could tell your friends about it, and it would still get around. The point being is that you don't need to know that there are people doing fraud using your name as a means to dox and harass people. Because if the company is going to handle it internally, and you don't need to know the specifics about it because it doesn't fucking concern you, then why do you need to know about it? All in all, this whole thing looked like it was being handled fairly, you know, decently, right? It was looking like it was going well. They did not mind the video. And he posted the video, right? And then that's when all of the crazy shit happened. That's when they started criticizing him about him posting the video, basically drumming up drama and attention to the thing, and potentially, you know, eroding any chance to actually catch the actual culprits involved, among other things, right? But that's kind of a moot point when the point is to basically spread awareness of the fact. And plus, they already had evidence on deck. They probably already seen these guys' profiles and accounts. They probably could already go and ask a Discord, as well as maybe some, you know, maybe the federal, you know, like maybe the I don't know, FBI, CIA. Who's the fucking people in charge of the government who would have to investigate this shit? But anyways, they could get the law involved, and they could just get and, you know, Discord would have to comply with the law and basically try to, you know, dox their IP address and everything, so that way they can, you know, get justice for basically being absolute dipshits on the internet. It's not, this doesn't make any sense. And the reasons they gave were all bullshit when it was happening. And so I always thought for a while, you know, for the longest time, and even still to this day, I always think, when I think about this controversy, I think to myself, there was a petty motivation behind it. And a lot of these issues, a lot of the excuses they gave just sounded like just a nice deflection for the fact that they just did not like the guy and they just wanted an excuse to get rid of him. That's how I felt about it. And again, I could be wrong. You know, they're probably not nearly that bad. They're probably not nearly so petty. But, you know, they are women. Okay. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that they're anything but what they are. So, and if nothing else, the Cinder controversy kind of makes this a point, right? You know, I would just learn to expect the unexpected. Never take anything at face value. Always keep people at arm's length, especially if you yourself don't know what they're really like behind the scenes, okay? If you don't actually know these people, don't be telling these people your whole life fucking story, and don't just be all cool and nonchalant around them and talking about every little, you know, potentially bad or compromising thing about yourself with them. Don't get them involved in any of your personal life and your personal matters. They'll probably use it against you. You never know. You just never know with these things, you know. As someone with a persecution complex, you never know. It's always there. The potential for potential defamation, slander, it's all there. But anyways, we're moving on.
And I made a huge up. Without hyperbole, this was the biggest mistake of my career, and I am deeply, deeply sorry for spreading misinformation.
A fellow VTuber by the
I'm just
name
gonna let this one go as
Tiger
well.
had a document created about them alleging they were a predator. The document was produced by individuals that were previous mods and stalkers of Tiger, and in 2022, Nux made a video with Moist Critical going over VTuber drama. Moist didn't know about a lot of these VTubers or dramas, and the video was essentially Nux giving a tour through the many controversies of the VTuber community and explaining them. However, he does eventually get to Tiger and says he doesn't know much about the situation, but then continues to convey the message they were a predator. And with someone like Moist critical in the video, a lot of people saw it.
Left to teetering money.
Is this HoloLive?
No, Taiga is an indie streamer who, I don't know the whole story, but Taiga was outed to be a pedophile.
Now, Tiger was exonerated from these claims a few months later, and Nux did pin a comment regarding the Tiger situation under the video, and he even removed that part in the video. He also apologized privately to Tiger for this, but many thought the damage was already done. 6 months later, Nux brings up the situation on his podcast, once again saying he messed up, and he was going off the information what other people told him, and that once again he had privately apologized for this.
Like, I alleged it also because a friend told me, and I regret it because he, you know, I don't know if it's true. He ended up coming back with some sort of response. I don't know, this guy Bungo Taiga, and I apologized to him privately that I even alleged something like that, and like because a friend told me.
Now, you would think this is where it would end. Nux somewhat apologized and learned his lesson that, you know, you should verify information before voicing it, especially when it's a serious allegation, which he did do again around the same time against another YouTuber and VTuber called Rev, where they got into a whole kerfuffle and made a video, which was removed recently, with a weird comment from Nux where if he was to do a video on Rev, with his influence and podcast, YouTube would probably take his channel down.
If I make a video roasting this dude on my main channel, YouTube will literally deplatform him. Like, YouTube actually watches my stuff, especially ever since I've been on the Some Ordinary podcast. YouTube has really been paying attention to like what we've been saying, and I'll be honest, if I would make a video on him on the main channel, I do think he'd get taken down for either bullying or the whole weird pedo stuff.
But a few months later, he would claim YouTube are actively suppressing him, which just contradicts his past claim, but he did apologize for this around 2 years later.
And
as far as this Rev thing is going, I do know, I was aware of this feud. I did see it every now and again, but to basically give my general sense of it, I don't, because I don't want to spend on this too long. I think that it might have been just a general statement. I don't think he was being like very literal about it, but I don't know. This is a clip that was taken out of context of probably the whole of whatever led to this moment. I don't know. I know they were feuding for a bit, but otherwise, you know, like, I don't know if that particular clip he was saying that to be threatening, or if he was just making a general statement that, you know, YouTube watches a lot of my stuff, you know, like, I could say something that's potentially defamatory about the guy, and YouTube might literally take it as fact. So I don't want, I may or may not want to actually say or do stupid shit like that and stir up drama. Who knows? You know, like, again, I don't know where this clip originated from. I don't remember the context for this thing. It feels familiar. I think I might have seen it somewhere. Maybe I saw it at one point, but, you know, otherwise, you know, I have no idea.
Some of the stuff that I said in my old stream that I foolishly uploaded on Nuxanor. And yeah, I was definitely out of pocket when I talked about Rev like 2-3 years ago, whenever the fuck that was.
But with the Tiger situation, it wasn't done yet, as Tiger thought it wasn't a good apology, because Nux claimed privately they would publicly clear the slate regarding Tiger, possibly with another video with Moist critical. But the video or cleaning of the public slate never came.
This guy Bungo Taiga, and I apologized to him privately that...
Let me be clear. Let me check exactly what he said. If I do a sequel with Charlie, I was planning on it, I'll try to clear the record more publicly. I'll also do more research. Again, I don't know right now, however, I'll try to rectify any extra damage I caused and hope you can accept my apology. This was in December 22nd, 2022. 2022! He said he was going to make a sequel video with Moist Critical. Video never came.
Now moving to 2024, Nux was still getting backlash for this mistake. People wanted him to take full accountability for this, with not just a pinned comment, not just a small segment on his podcast, and not just a private DM. And in 2024, he did apologise, saying it was the biggest fuck-up of his career, in a video where he goes over the unjust banning of VTubers on YouTube and mentions Tiger, who was also banned on the platform. He does apologise for the situation, but adds he wasn't to blame for Tiger's deplatforming.
And I made a huge fuck up. Without hyperbole, this was the biggest mistake of my career, and I am deeply, deeply sorry for spreading misinformation and for causing any undue hate to be sent Taiga's way. I am sorry for how I handled that. I'm sorry for how I said it. I have tried to do better since then, and I will continue to try to do better in the future.
Now, he apologised again. It should all go away now, right? Not really. Many viewed his apology as disingenuous, due to the fact he made comments around the same time, previously contradicting the private apology, comments on the podcast, and pinned comment. So a lot of people thought all of his apologies he'd made were just disingenuous anyway.
Bro! Right. I thought you cared about, stood up for small creators. I do. Especially when the small creators don't have sussy interactions in regards to minors.
And still to this day, this situation is levied against him. Now, Nux, contrary to popular belief, wasn't to blame directly for Tiger's deplatforming, but he was to blame for the spread of allegations at the time, and how he dealt with the situation, often apologising, then going back on his word, then apologising again. He all around did not deal with this situation very well, and it did have an effect on his reputation, something the next controversy, only a month later, would also do, and would receive 10 times more attention than any of his past controversies, with the most lukewarm scenario. And that is the Jaden animation situation.
Okay, before we move on to this one, dear lord, I don't know much about the controversies that he's gotten into after the VShojo thing. This Bungo Taiga thing I am aware of to some degree, but I don't know all of the specifics or really any of them, so I can only go based off of what was mentioned in this video. What I can say is that this is a very this is a very interesting sort of controversy. You need to be very careful about the claims you make on the internet. This is why I am someone with a persecution complex, and it's one of the reasons why I'm trying to get, I use the channel to kind of get out of my shell a little bit, to be a bit more personable and to voice my opinions, as well as, among other things, just be myself more so than I can be anywhere else, because everywhere I go, even in my own personal life, I can't really be entirely myself 100% of the time. I use the channel as a way to kind of do that, to kind of vent, sort of, kind of so to speak. But anyways, as far as this is concerned, this is different. This is an interesting package, because at least in the way it's portrayed in this video, the Nux made an oopsie definitely with this one. I'm not gonna sit here and defend Nux on this point. He definitely, like Bungo Taiga got into a controversy on his own about this from the sounds of it, and Nux was just covering it. Nux brought more awareness to the issue, and by allegedly calling him a thing that we can't say on the internet, I can't, or that I can't specifically say, he definitely brought more attention to it and the wrong sort of negative connotation to the subject, but it was technically, he was addressing a controversy like he said he was going to in the video. It was just a current one, and he did not have all of the facts. He relied on somebody else, a third party, for that information. That is a big oopsie. You do not rely on hearsay for anything. I know this. Anyone who's been on the internet long enough should know this. You do not rely on hearsay. You rely on cold, hard facts that you've seen with your own eyes, or that is the general consensus by everybody else. And even then, I take the general consensus with a grain of salt, even then. But far be it from me. I think that this whole thing was just a really bad scenario for Nux, certainly, and he kind of did it to himself. especially since he draw Moist into this, that kind of signal boosts the allegations that much higher. He is a long-time big content creator. I would be kind of very careful to talk about anything with a guy like Moist, especially current issues, because you don't know what you're gonna potentially open yourself up to if you're not careful about how you present it. But anyways, yeah, all of that aside, moving on from that particular detail, I am also going to throw a little bit of flack in Taiga's way. Not necessarily a critical flack, but more so as a forewarning. You do not want to play the petty game. You do not. I think Taiga is well within his right to be a little peeved. Certainly. I think he's definitely well within his right to be peeved by the whole thing. He got ham-fisted. He got levied a career-ending, life-threatening allegation, potentially, in his direction. He has more than any other reason to be a little miffed about the whole thing, all right? I am not going to discount that. I'm not going to discredit that. As someone with a persecution complex myself, I would absolutely be shitting bricks if I ever got any type of real censorious controversy coming my way. But that being said, after the situation blew over, it can be perceived as being just a little fucking petty if you're gonna come out swinging with, hey, I'm going to potentially make a sequel video. Where's the fucking sequel video, Nux? Where's the fucking sequel video? I get that he's pissed off, and I understand it. But he needs to be very fucking careful about the stuff that he says and what he does. It could easily, that little statements and moments, at least in the context of this video, could easily come back and bite him in the ass if he's not careful. It still ended up coming back to hurt Nux, and Nux took it on the nose like a champ, which I'll give him credit for that. He's taken a lot of these issues on the nose, which is, that's something that I don't see from many content creators, let alone just one guy who just happens to be a very opinionated person. But anyways, that's neither here or there. He seems to take everything on the shoulder, and he seems to actually embody and embrace his critiques rather than just double down or just ignore them like most people would. So again, I got to give him credit for this. He actually bothers to not only address the issue but also try to answer it and try to reflect upon it, even go as far as to even apologize for his own faults and his own mistakes, which is something you don't see from most people. But yes, especially with this now, one of the things that Taiga mentioned with this clapback is that he was wondering where the sequel video was with the Moist critical thing. The easiest reason as to why it didn't happen is because Moist just said no, right? Moist is a big content creator. He's someone who's been around the block a few times. He also, if we're going to be technical about this, because let's put ourselves in Charlie's shoes for a second. If I got into a collab with some guy that I've never met or I've only talked to maybe briefly in maybe a Discord DM or something like that, and we decided to do a video together, and he shows me a bunch of controversies and he gets me embroiled or wrapped in one unintentionally, I don't think I would want to collaborate with that person again either. I'm just saying. And so if he came at me, it's just like, hey, Moist, so I want to do a collaboration where we talk about the same, where we do a sequel to that VTuber or content creator YouTube controversy thing again. Do you think you can, maybe do you think we could do that? And also, would you mind if I, make a subtle apology, not just to Bungo Taiga, but maybe even to you as well for dragging you and Taiga into that scenario and just kind of help me make amends with this situation that I have inadvertently wrapped myself into. and also kind of yourself as well, I would probably be like, nah, that's an L. That's a UL. I don't need to get dragged into this. I mean, I think it's only fair, right? And I think it's only fair for Charlie to say no. I think it's fair that, like Nux ends up biting the bullet on this one. I think it's fair that the situation ended the way that it did. But, like, even in Bungo Taiga's own words, right? And I think he pulled up the DM too in that clip, maybe, or at least at some point. Nux did specifically state that maybe when we do a sequel, he used the word maybe. That doesn't imply that it will happen, it implies that it might happen. And so the idea that Taiga would expect the video to happen is kind of weird. It's also just, it adds to the pettiness factor of it. You don't... He said maybe. It might happen. It means don't expect it to actually happen. But that's, but he did come back with a clapback of that, using this terminology and, stating the DM for, the way it was stated. So that's all I have to say on the subject. It's, it's not a good look. I would be very careful about how you approach not just addressing controversies. It's a great example of how not to address a controversy, as well as how not to clap back in midst or post-mortem after a controversy. It's you don't want to put yourself back into a situation where you suddenly have to start answering for yourself or having to defend yourself over stupid decisions that you yourself have made, among other things, right? But anyways, that's just my 2 cents on it. I'm gonna move on now. So what's this Jaded Animation thing about?
Now most people know who Jaded Animations is. She makes animated videos, mainly storytime videos, and even herself later became a VTuber. But this whole controversy boils down to Nux that had just changed his type of content to mainly just reaction-based content, which many popular content creators do, like Asmongold and Pyrocynical, the Mounting Ugly. And overall, But people had a problem with Nux due to the fact he started reacting to Jaden, and he would take the title or situation and involve himself in it. With a title like Me and Jaden had a good 10 years on YouTube, or Jaden Animations talks to me about dating, or Me and Jaden forgot to file our taxes and the IRS found us, stuff like that.
We? Who's we? There is no we.
It made it look like they were doing a collab of sorts, even though I don't think there's any recorded event of them interacting. But people were not happy with this, and a whole bunch of hate was sent to Nux. Especially
you mean we? Jaden and I are pregnant, you mean we?
Someone made a fake response from Jaden, which many believed, essentially telling him to fuck off. Someone made a Google Chrome extension, which adds him to every YouTube video.
I heard about that.
Mr. Beast with a meme, and he took credit for it. People made a Teen Titans Go reference with it, which was "and Bumblebee," which he assumed meant it was just kids making fun of him.
I'm getting cancelled by Teen Titans Go children. I'm being cancelled by toddlers. It's amazing.
Even though Teen Titans Go, yes, it is a bad sequel to Teen Titans, but it is pretty old now, and I think it aired quite a while ago when I was a toddler. But people that didn't know who Nux was before this just...
I remember hating that thing when it first came out. That thing came out in 2014? Was that when it ended? Was that when it started? Fuck. That was 10 years ago. God, I feel old.
Thought he was the Jaden Animations guy now, which I don't know if it's good PR or bad PR, but to be honest, he was just doing what every other React channel does, albeit changing the title slightly. I don't know why he chose Jaden. He wasn't framing any other titles like this, and he had already been doing it as far back as 2 years ago, but it was just reaction videos, which many people watch, so they don't feel alone watching YouTube in their dark, dingy basement. But anyway, now the last controversy, yes, we're almost there. I know I've taken up a majority of your time, but let's be honest, that time playing War Thunder or Dead by Daylight wouldn't have been time well spent, now would it? So shut up. But the last one, and probably the most impactful, was basically surrounding Lolly. Now, the topic of Lolly has been debated for years now.
No. I hate this subject. I hate this subject. You want to talk about pedantic? This subject. Oh my god, this subject. You cannot get around this. You cannot solve it. You cannot do anything to this. It is the most pedantic argument on the face of the internet. There will never be an answer until someone actually sits down and actually does a research paper on this and actually bothers to finally answer the question, does lolicon content actually produce real, actual fucking kitty diddlers? We are never going to get around this topic. We're never going to get over this topic. We're never going to solve this problem. And it's a problem that's been persisting for years. It's one of the reasons why I do not like to talk about it, because it always devolves into the same usual fucking arguments, and it never goes anywhere. I am so tired of seeing it. So tired. All right? I had my opinions on it before, and when I was in high school, I didn't give a shit. You know, like, I was just like, oh, you know what? You know, I kind of see what the point, I kind of see what people are coming from when they talk about this thing. Like, you know, like, it's not actual kids, so it's not like it's harming anyone. Plus, right, you know, it's, you know, if it actually helps to lessen the actual real-world ramifications and effects of actual potential children getting involved into some really sussy shit, you know, I don't see a problem with it existing. I see it as a necessary evil, right? So that's how I thought of it when I was in high school, and over the years, I started to see both sides, and I started to see where they're all coming from on the subject. I don't really like it. I think it's nasty. I know I've heard of some of the content that's produced around it. I've even seen some of it. It is awful, and I do not like this. I do not like this thing. But yeah, it is a subject of all time. It is the most pedantic subject and genre of fiction of all time. And God, I wish it would die on some level. At least put the fucking question to bed. Does it or does it actually not? We will never know. But you know what? It exists, and there it is. You know, it's... God, I hate this thing with a fiery passion. As far as what my opinion on it as you know, today is, look, I've seen both sides. I've seen all of the points that could ever be possibly made on this thing at this point. I don't fucking care. It doesn't matter. The only thing I am gonna say is that my personal experience with this thing is that I have met people who I have known people that I did not know for very long, and they apparently enjoyed this content, and let me tell you something, they all ended up turning into fucking weirdos in the end. One of them was actually of that variety, and I honestly could not care in the slightest. I could not care in the slightest. One of these people was actually of that variety. I only met them briefly. I don't even remember their fucking name. My friends know them more so than I do because they actually had the fucking the real quandary and problem of actually dealing with the son of a bitch. I luckily have only had brief encounters with the fucking weirdo, and I hope this fucking thing dies at some point because I am fucking tired of seeing it. But yes, generally speaking, my experience, quote unquote, meeting people who love this kind of content is that they all are either weirdos or they've all turned out to be fucking weirdos. So, you know, take that for what you will. Take it or leave it. I do not care about this subject. I do not like this topic because it doesn't go anywhere. It really does not go anywhere, and I do not want to get wrapped around this. That's all I have to say about it. Moving on.
Especially within the anime community. On one side you have people that argue lolly characters in anime or VTubing is only an aesthetic thing focused on characters that are small.
Okay, as far as VTubing is concerned, right? Alright, I'm gonna only say this once. as far as VTubing is concerned, it is done. There has been some arguments made that yes, it is pandering, but also that it does bring out the sort of nurturing care aspects in men as well as young men around the topic. And you know what? I can see that. You know, like I like, how do I say this without it sounding weird? I like Jelly Hoshiyumi from Phase Connect. I think she's a really down-to-earth girl. I don't necessarily like her model like that, but I do think it's cute, and I do think it's kind of bubbly, and I kind of see her as like a funny kid, like a little kid sister, right? I see her more so as a kid sister than nothing else. So I can see the appeal because I felt it when I was watching her content, watching her streams, among other things. You know, like, she seems like just a funny girl that likes nerdy games, and it feels kind of like right when you're watching her play games, you're listening to her talk, you're listening to her talking about stupid shit, right? It feels like you're sitting down and watching maybe like your baby sister play a game, talking about her day at school or some shit like that, right? That's how I felt when I was watching her streams. That's how I felt when I was engaging in her content. You know, I don't necessarily think, right, people should be looking at VTubers of this variety in that light, but I know there's going to be people who will. And all I'm going to say about this subject is that I can see the appeal if you just, like, one way, but I can also understand that it could easily appeal to a completely different demographic entirely. All right? So I can see the arguments for both. That's all I have to say about that. I'm not going to make claims either or, one way or the other. It does not matter to me. It's just the way it is. If people want to do it, that's their prerogative. I do not care. I don't want to pander in this sort of way myself. That's why I have a more adult or teen, I guess, looking VTuber model. I don't fucking know. It's more like a young adult model, especially with a goatee. But anyways, I hate this topic. You can't get around it. You can't escape it. You certainly can't find any real nuanced discussion to be had around it because you've seen all the arguments. You've seen all the censorious arguments. It's just whatever. It is what it is. It really is. It's just this and nothing more until someone finally solves the question. This is the kind of content that it will be known for as being the most hot button controversial topic in the community that you will never escape from, especially when someone just decides they want to fucking nuke a Discord server one day or a Reddit forum. Because, once you introduce the topic, it always goes down the same way. But anyways, moving on. We're getting away from this.
Or have a specific body type. A key example used by this side is Rebecca from Cyberpunk, which was a whole different controversy back then, but she did get absolutely balled on in the anime. And on the other side, people say...
And also, petite women do exist, alright? That's another thing that I should probably also address. Petite women do exist. I don't think every specific... Unless the body type is specifically designed to look and have a frame of it being of that nature, right? I don't think it's too bad. I think that the other chick in Phase Connected, that's like it's purple hair, it's got the cow thing going on. It's like, I think that is definitely more so bordering on that side of pandering than Jelly is. If I had to put, like, if I had to use two examples, right? But, like, petite women do exist. All right? Just look at the entirety of Japan. They're all just petite women more often than not. They just happen to be more developed with wider hips. And if the model does not look adult, then clearly, it's questionable. All right, that's all I'm going to say on the subject.
Say they are depictions of children, and if you sexualize them, you are a predator. with the example some anime characters seen in that light are underage. But how does this relate to Nux? Well, Nux was heavily against lolly publicly, saying along the lines, if you like lolly or sexualize it, you are a predator. However, many took a look back at Nux's history with some of the content and thumbnails, some of which have been deleted and changed over the years. Many cited he had straight up involved lolly sexually in his thumbnails or suggested such themes in his content. Even at one point he had a series where he would straight up show anime porn to other influencers to...
Oh, I remember this. I actually watched that video. That shit was funny. But otherwise, God, Bible Black was so funny. I watched that unironically for the meme, and because the dub was so fucking stupid, it was hilarious. It was divine comedy on its own. Quite literally, because it was literally about a fucking satanic Bible. But otherwise, yeah. As far as thumbnails go, you know, like, I think it's excusable because, you know, even still to this day, somewhat, to some degree, right? You know, back in the day, clickbait was the name of the game, right? You know, whatever was punchy, whatever could get you the clicks, that was the way to go. And not very many people had it really to any fucking scruples on what they put on that thumbnail, Nux included. You know, like, it was very much just like, whatever's gonna get people to click on the video, that's the thumbnail I'm going for. You know, whatever sort of weird, potentially censorious thing you could concoct and manifest in your mind, and you could put it into a thumbnail, that is what the thumbnail was gonna be, right? And I think for someone like Nux, that only made perfect sense. So I don't know. I mean, if he was outspoken about the thing and he included it in his thumbnails, right, I can see why some people might have an issue with it, but I think that just further goes to show that, you know, he's not above doing anything for content. And if I remember correctly, he often gloated about doing literally anything for content. So yeah, there you have it.
Get that reaction.
He has the same facial expression as Tom, bro. Whoever made this needs to be in jail.
What were we doing back then in those days of content? Jesus. Even...
Oh god, I miss those days, god damn it. Those were the days, man. The days where you could just sit back and watch the chaos unfold. That shit was great. That shit was great. I fucking miss those days, my guy. I miss those days. God, old internet was so much better. Why is it not back? Why are we here? Why is everything so shit? Why can't the world be fun anymore? Why is everything such horse shit? I'd be here all day if I had to get into that.
Showed hentai that was considered lolly to his fellow co-host, Mudaha.
This is a hentai? First rule, hug your little sister every day. Okay, it's fine, okay, it's just hug her for at least 10 seconds. There's nothing wrong with the hug, yeah, it's fine. No. The third rule...
Is this Kiss X Sis? I bet it's Kiss X Sis. If it's quote-unquote of that variety, then yes, it's probably Kiss X Sis, I imagine. That was probably the more weird one that captured the cultural zeitgeist of that time.
Rule isn't any weirder, so you don't have to worry. Oh.
But he was mainly being called out for being a hypocrite due to the thumbnails and...
Well, I mean, outside of Boku no Pico, but we're not good. I want to stay as far away from that fucking thing as much as humanly possible, and if I can, I never want to see it ever again. It's about as notorious and infamous as the 2 Girls 1 Cup video, and I've seen that too. I want to bleach my fucking eyeballs every time I think of it. And that's sad because I can't bleach my eyeballs for it anymore. I have to somehow wash my brain cells with it, and I can't. Because it's there. It's permanently there like a stain. It just won't go away. Fuck, I hate this. I hate some of the things that get produced on the internet, man. Sometimes you just wish you could go your whole life without seeing some shit, man. You really could. God damn it. And also, who the fuck made Boku no Pico? That person should be quartered and shot.
The videos. What made things significantly worse at the time was the Ava Chris Tyson allegations, where Ava was a supporter of Shadman, an infamous character online that drew NSFW art, and more notably drew NSFW art of Keemstar's daughter at the time.
Oh, I was aware of this controversy. I did not know the person who was behind it. Okay. So it's going into this thing.
Time, who was underage, which everyone viewed as fucking disgusting, but after the...
And it fucking is, by the way. You know, it's one thing to do fictional, non-alive characters, like pure fictional characters, but based off of actual real people, that's a layer of uncomfortable that I don't think anyone could accept. That's just disgust. That's just nasty, bro. That's just nasty. That gives me not really shivers. It gives me uncomfortable sweats. It's the kind of thing that makes you want to take a bath. It makes you feel itchy. It's the kind of stuff that you just. Ugh.
The whole Ava Chris Tyson story, a post was made showing all the creators that associate with or endorse Shadman, and Nux was listed, where he previously included Shadman's art in his thumbnails.
I've actually seen that. God, what video was that? I don't remember what. In the original thumbnail, she is fully naked with a thin sensor bar on her chest. What the fuck was this video? Oh, I'm trying to remember. What was this video? Was it the one where he had made people react to? Oh, it says it right there underneath the fucking captions. What is this? Game of Thrones hentai has gone too far. I did not even know there was a hentai of Game of Thrones. It must not have been a video that really interested me because I recognize the thumbnail, but I do not remember this video in the slightest.
Which he did change a few days after the video was released a few years ago.
Remember the video that I talked about that had a Shadman art in the thumbnail and I changed it? And people kept saying that, no, I don't believe you that you changed the thumbnail back 3 years ago. You probably just changed it right now. Game of Thrones memes are fucked up. Last updated thumbnail 11/24/2020.
He asked him for a collaboration where Nux's excuse was he was going to make fun of him.
People are making this as some sort of I am supporting him and I'm trying my best to become friends with Shadman, this monster, which is fucking stupid if you know my content at all. I troll confront people when I collab the same way you do, talking to Keemstar, on LOLcow, and if you watch my videos, you know that. I don't mind if you hate me, but at least hate me for the right reasons.
And at one point he even had direct contact with Shadman, where multiple videos resurfaced of him talking about the DMs.
I'm trying to make his. Yes, I did get DM'd by Shadman every once in a while, back in the day, rarely. I would just wake up out of the blue and boom, I'd have a Shadman DM, and I would literally make fun of him for those DMs later. Man, that's a weird, yeah. And,
that's a way to start a sentence.
That's a way to start a sentence. And he has some interesting takes on Gardevoir.
He can keep them. I don't think I need to hear them.
Yeah, they're weird. Dude, honestly, it was the weirdest conversation I've ever had in my life. Like, through DMs. I didn't speak to him, like, voice, but it was the weirdest conversation I've ever had.
And even one video where he says he doesn't want to get him in trouble.
Shadman once, it was the weirdest interaction of my life. Like, that dude, let me actually open up the DMs. Let me see if I can find anything funny he said. Oh my god, I can't even read you most of this. I can't even, oh my god, I literally can't read any of this to you. I really want to show them to you, but I don't want to, like, show you anything that I can't reveal. Like, I don't want to actually get him in trouble. It's just, like, yeah.
But Nux clarifies he never knew about the Keemstar Shadman thing. Now, it's been unclear if Nux was ever going to actually roast Shadman if he did a video with him, or if he truly didn't know about what Shadman was doing. But the fact he had direct contact with someone like Shadman, many still viewed as incriminating, even though in his own words he was just making fun of him. In his response he also said he regrets a lot of his previous content and the involvement of Lolly in them, and he has always been against Lolly.
It wasn't a review of LollyCon, that's obviously bad faith. Probably one of the most bad faith ways to twist what actually happened I've ever heard. Now, I have said in the past, and I'll say it again, I do regret making a lot of those old videos. I have literally always been against the lolly. I made old videos where I found, like, crazy hentai, and I showed them to people for shock value. These hentai videos are on YouTube also, and I reacted to a YouTube video, being like, this is crazy that this came out of Japan and is literally on YouTube. So, anyway, it was a little wild. I invited a lot of people to the call. Obviously, no one thought it was weird. People had eyeballs. I mean, everyone thought that the content was weird.
A lot of this controversy just boils down to Nux saying he hated something, but he was involving it in his content, and was actively showing it to people, and he also shouldn't have had ties with someone making terrible NSFW art, even if he was going to make fun of him. Now this is where the controversy stood for some time, but then the post-Nux clarity hit for Mudaha a few months later, which, to give him credit, is a good title. But Mudaha made a video basically saying he was distancing himself from Nux due to some feedback he got from Reddit.
But to go back to it, Nux
Wait, Reddit? I don't want to stop midway into this because I've already stopped enough as is, but it's like... Reddit? Really, my guy? I mean, I'm not gonna knock Reddit because it sometimes has some pretty there are some interesting things that do get, that do happen on Reddit, that do end up making its way to Reddit forums, but it's like, outside of tech supports, I don't trust anything ever said on Reddit ever, unless it's like some really interesting rumor mill details that could potentially be true, especially if it's like so censoriously zany that, it could end up actually being true, because that's normally how Reddit rumor mill shit ends up going, is that if it's just weird enough to be true, it just might be true, right? That's how I've always looked at Reddit shit. All the Reddit rumors, among other things, right? It's just with a pure skepticism, but with like a hint, like a dash of just like, well, could it be? What if, right? That's the most I do. And I mean, I want to give this guy the benefit of the doubt that the Reddit post that he might have saw, or that the thing that he saw on Reddit was probably from a familiar source or a decent source. And so when he got that feedback from Reddit, it was from something more concrete and reliable. But at the same fucking time, right? This is the same guy who said he wasn't going to buy a Switch 2 and ended up buying a Switch 2. I mean, I don't know. I feel like this is the kind of guy who likes to jump the gun a little too much, right? Like, at least just from that alone, I feel like that's, if his fan base and the clowning he got during the whole Switch 2 thing was anything to go by, he's known for doing shit like this. So, yeah, I don't know. I'll just let it go.
Taku is a former collaborator, a former friend of mine. And I mean really a former friend of mine, because some of the stuff that I've seen over here is disgusting enough that I really can't continue a friendship. And I really can't, excuse some of my behavior watching some of this content.
He said they had no more business relations and they were no longer friends due to things like the Tiger situation, the Shadman situation, and the Lolly involvement, which he had some part in and showed remorse for it.
But in this situation, I just wanted to provide you the context of all of this, right? This wasn't us sitting together watching Loli, just on the off time. This is a collaboration for one of Nux's main channel videos. And at the time, really nobody thought about it. But we should have. It really did blindside me. There was a bias, call it, friendship bias, call it, there was other creators working on it, but really it was something that I was putting up a blind spot to, and I'm not using that as an excuse. I really shouldn't have done that collaboration, and I really shouldn't have watched that content, and if any way contributed to normalizing it.
And he went on to say he didn't know about Nux's content, and he was naive to some of the things he took part in.
Wait, you should have more in those videos?
But in this video, he was basically taking accountability for his involvement, but then deleted the video, citing he was overreacting, and he apologized to Nux, and they are still friends.
Muda.
That's unreal. Anyways, yeah. I mean, look, if it makes you uncomfortable, that's one thing. Far be it from me to sit here and suggest that, you shouldn't feel a certain type of way, being exposed to certain things, right, on the internet especially, but it's like, I mean, I don't know how Nux goes about his collaboration process. Like, does he tell people ahead of time that he's gonna expose them to some shit, or like what kind of does he give them a buffer of what they're going to see? Because like I would think that the easiest way to avoid this issue, right, would just be a buffer ahead of time, just like, okay, so hey guy, I'm just letting you know we are going to be watching some potentially graphic shit. Stuff that borders on either the potentially questionable, as well as just straight up the fun hub place, right? Like if you want to back out now, feel free to tell me. Like it's no hard feelings. I just want to show you this thing for shock value, just for the fucking lulz of it. Maybe get a laugh out of it, just a nice good old hark out of it. Like if Nux does that before every collab video or stream, that's one thing, right? But like if he doesn't do that, that does kind of paint an interesting sort of like liability slant in Nux's own favor. But as far as that shit is concerned, oh, and I never really addressed the weird sort of Shadman thing. As far as the Shadman thing, I'm gonna leave that as it is, because I don't think there's anything else that needs to be said on that shit with Mudahar. But as far as like the Shadman thing is concerned, like the lolly content, lolly thumbnails among other things, right? And his association with Shadman, I think the guilt by association thing needs to be taken with the I don't know if it's, how do I put this? The guilt by association thing is only as viable of an option as depending on how questionable the circumstances are, right? Like like people could know the person, could be in context with the person, they could share similar contexts, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're directly involved, right? Like again, like the guilt by association thing only works as if the person is actually like knows this person well, and they often talk to each other, they often collaborate, they often goof off, they often are amongst each other all the time. That's when I think the guilt by association really starts to stick and really kind of matters. But as far as like like say you're both business partners or colleagues is concerned, I don't necessarily see that as being a potential like, oh yeah, this person could also be a piece of shit, right? I think that with this whole Shadman Nux type thing, I think it's more so just a question of like, well, where is the evidence that suggests that like that it's as bad as people think it is? Like, right, like, no, we know that Nux has DMs, and Nux has personally spoken about his DMs with Shadman and some of the stuff that he posts in those DMs. But he's also went on record and stated that the guy's a fucking weirdo and he would like to clown on the guy. And otherwise, he also apparently did not know anything about the whole Keemstar thing. So, yeah, like we can only take his word for any of this shit. And since we haven't really, and since I don't know Shadman, I didn't even know who Shadman was, and I didn't even know he was connected to Nux at any point in length in time, like I consider this as being a complete non-issue. It's a complete nothing burger. He clearly, and like at least from what I've seen and from my own perspective, I don't necessarily see this as like an L for Nux. I see this more so as just like the internet's doing the internet thing, where they're making a mountain out of a molehill and drawing lines and parallels where there aren't any, right? I feel like that if there is any sort of real liability here, it's going to have to come through a Google Docie or something similar of the sort, right? Leaked DMs. That's how it needs to be handled. That's how it needs to be logically rationalized and dissected, because otherwise I don't really see that particular issue as being an actual issue. I see it more as just like the internet's gonna do what the internet usually does, and it's just gonna fly by the seat of its own pants and just make up shit for whatever reason just to take people down a peg. Especially if you're a known content creator who likes to make a lot of censorious content, does censorious shit on the regular. And Nux is the kind of person who does that, so. And again, Nux is got a personality that to most people would be very, very subjective. So, yeah. Let's just move on from that one.
Deleted his video, posted a community post, and then called me. And apologized.
Many thought this was disingenuous of Mutahar taking accountability then walking it back, and he did receive a lot of flack for this, many citing that wearing the Christian medallion was giving off some gamma radiation and probably skewed his judgment due to this. And many said he was just throwing Nux under the bus, who was supposedly his friend, so he didn't have to deal with the Reddit hate. Mutahar probably should have thought a lot more about this before making the...
Man, who fucking cares about Reddit hate, man? Just like Twitter hate. Who fucking cares? Like, Twitter hate, you kind of have to take a little bit seriously, but fucking Reddit hate, my guy. Reddit does not mean shit. Reddit is like the second cesspit of the internet that's twice removed from Twitter. It's like as far and away from any real issue of any real sort of... Reddit is just Reddit, okay? There's no easy way to say it other than Reddit is just Reddit, all right? It means about as much as fucking a bag in the wind. It's just there. It exists. That's all it is, and that's all it ever will be. All right? I saw a meme once that perfectly described it. It is a wretched hive of scum and villainy. It is not anything that needs to be taken seriously. It is just a garbage platform with a bunch of random forums of just people who like to shitpost. It's all it is. I would not take any criticism or hates from there at all seriously. In fact, I would not even pay attention to it.
The video, but the two of them made up anyway, apparently. But the fallout of this video was a lot of the previous stuff being brought up again against Nux, and other people like Chud Logic were affected when they were told contradicting things by Mutahar and reported on it.
My boots have been pissed on, and I've been told that it's raining, right? It is 100% without question that Mutahar did say to me, okay, he did say to me that it was ending because of Nux Tarku and the Shaman connection, and then later changed that.
But overall, a lot of content creators before the post-Nux Clarity video and after did start to distance themselves from Nux.
I love me some chaos now and again, but it was a pretty rough moment there.
So in conclusion, does Nux deserve the reputation of the most hated VTuber? Looking at all the controversies, he tried to do the right thing with the V-Shoujo situation, and the Jaden Animations thing was just kind of a joke, but due to his own actions like contradicting himself at times or going back on what he says and taking no accountability, except for sometimes years later, it has led to a lot of people hating him. So yes, he does somewhat deserve that title, mostly due to his past controversies and the public perception of him. But in the present, I predict we probably won't see any more dramas from Nux. I'm probably wrong. Nowadays, dude is just reacting to politics and Adventure Time, and yes, he does get a lot of hate for his political takes, but I'm in no way political, or have any knowledge on politics.
I mean, who doesn't get hate for their political takes? I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for my political video every time I react to a fucking shoe-on-head video, and that's probably as far as I'm going to take the politics until it becomes my business, and then I'm going to have to focus on it, because apparently people want me to focus on it so much that apparently they want a random brain-dead shitter who has no real political sort of bone in his body to want to engage in politics. And if I have to be the kind of guy who has to do that, well, God help you for that, for when that fucking day comes. Hell will certainly freeze over the moment that fucking happens. And God, would that be a fucking day? That would be the spawn of a new era, because I will not give the slightest fuck. I will not be taking any prisoners. I will be literally throwing shit as far as the eye could see, and I don't even care if it will make sense. I don't even care if I actually have a point. I'm just going to tell you just how much I fucking care so little about your problems, and just how much I just want you to leave me the fuck alone. Otherwise, yeah, scorched earth policy on that one. Yeah, I'll just let it finish, and then I'll give my 2 cents.
But yeah, that's all I wanted to say, and bye-bye.
Oh, okay. Okay, that was that. Anyways, yeah, that was royalties here. That was the most hated VTuber, Nux Taku. I mean, I don't know what else that needs to be said that wasn't already addressed in the video. Nux, again, I only know Nux from his earlier content, so I don't know much about what he does now. I don't know what his political hot takes are. I'm sure if I watch his content now, I'm probably not going to hate it, because I've seen a lot of political Andes these days, and I'm pretty sure if Nux had any real fucking terrible opinions, especially in the political realm of things, he probably would have been canceled already. But he hasn't, so there you go. I mean, he's been canceled before, and people have attempted to cancel him before, and now that he's covering politics, I mean, even if he was actually getting it canceled, dude, would people really take it seriously? Because it's politics. All right, people get canceled every day for a political opinion or two. It's nothing new. But anyways, yeah. As far as that, I really don't know what to say about this whole thing, other than it's just like Nux, and he really is just a true to form, just a really annoying beaver. He's just the kind of guy who likes to poke fun and make light of things, and constantly likes to just, he just likes to fight about it. He's just a very polarizing guy. Like, he likes to make people a little uncomfortable. He likes to talk about uncomfortable things that likes to make people feel uncomfortable. He just likes to do things that just really rub people the wrong way sometimes. I don't know what else to say about that other than that, yeah, at the time of when he started doing this, it was mostly just pop culture related shit, and it was refreshing, it was interesting, it was new, it was actually somewhat more unique. It was actually a lot more unique than some of the more family-friendly kind of content creators, the more happy-go-lucky type of style of content that was being churned out during that day and age. But, nowadays, you can see people like Nux a dime a dozen. There's a lot of people who cover a lot of things. There's a wide variety of content creators now. You don't have to be a fun casual babby. You could also just be a political streamer. You could be a content creator who focuses on dumb shit of any variety. And there's no real discrimination or a non-audience for those type of things. If you're about a thing, you will find an audience. But yeah, otherwise, that was that video. Please go like and subscribe to the original video. Go like and subscribe to the original video. Give it go share it around with your friends if you want. Maybe feel free to leave a comment down below and like my own video as well. Maybe subscribe to my channel as well if you like what you see. And, just let me know in the comment section, what do you think of Nux? I'm actually curious because I don't know what Nux is like nowadays, and I'm kind of wondering if I should bother to give a shit, right? Leave a comment down below if you think Nux is actually better, or if he's cool. Still cool, maybe not so cool. Just give me the give me the scoop. Give me your 2 cents down in the comments. But yeah, otherwise I'll wrap it up. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Bye bye.